You having fun? I don't have too many places in our house just yet. That's definitely something we want to work on that have really nice looking backgrounds. So my messy desk, yeah, ignore it. Just focus on the piano. And this is the best we're gonna kind of have right now. Hey you guys, it's Alyssa. Welcome back to my channel. One thing I've definitely noticed in the last couple months is something that's very hard to balance is a newborn and trying to get work done. So videos are definitely on the more difficult side for me. I honestly have a lot planned out. It's just actually getting to record them and edit them and upload them. Like that whole process is very challenging. But right now he is fed, he is changed, he's in his rocking swing, hopefully gonna fall asleep. So we're gonna try to get into this one. So if you are coming from my boyfriend and I's reaction channel, if you don't know, we have a reaction channel. The link is in the description below if you wanna go check it out. If you guys are coming from there, you probably have seen on our Instagram, I posted a story asking if you guys wanted to see my labor and delivery video, and most of you had voted yes. So I'm here finally with that video now that my son is honestly gonna be 2 months old by the time you watch this video actually. Literally from today, he turns 2 months in 3 days. What? That's insane. Wow. So I have some notes kind of written on my phone. I'm gonna start with first thing that morning. It was Tuesday, March 15th at a bright, early, crisp 4 a.m. I started getting contractions. And honestly, I had a couple, like, I guess I would call them stomach ache now. A couple pains in my stomach a couple days before, like here and there, but they weren't contractions compared to what I had felt that morning. I woke up at 4 in the morning from pain in my stomach, but I don't know why, but me being me, I kind of tried to sleep through it. I mean, I guess if you just know me in my sleep, that just makes sense. I don't know. But I tried to sleep through it, and I really didn't wake Julian up or tell him about it until 3 hours later. Why, I don't know, but 7 a.m. rolled around, and Julian was kind of waking up. Like, I think he was just like turning over and probably saw that I was awake. But I don't remember if he asked me or anything, but I told him that we're probably gonna end up having to call soon because I've been having contractions for 3 hours now. And they were already, like, they started right off the bat at the point where they were about like a minute long and probably like maybe like 15 minutes top. And normally people start to be concerned when they get down to like 5 minutes because that's when they start getting closer. They start getting like, I guess, more into it because that's when you actually get closer into going into labor. So they started 4 a.m. right off the bat. My doctor's wasn't open yet. I still called, but they have a doctor on call for their office. So I had spoke to someone. They said they would call people from the doctor and they would have them call me to talk to me to see what was going on. But I actually never got a phone call. But I'm glad I didn't wait because like I was honestly already like starting to just be like in pain and all this stuff. So we packed up the bags and just kind of went down because he had called his mom to tell her and she was like, yeah, don't wait, just go. I had called my mom to tell her and she was like, well, don't wait, like just start heading down. So I was like, all right, I guess we're just gonna go down. So we started going down to the hospital around like 8 or 8:30, somewhere in there. By the time we like packed everything up and just started heading down. So we got to the hospital, I got checked in. They had checked everything. They checked like blood pressure. Then they were basically checking to see if I had gone into labor. They said that I wasn't dilated yet, so I hadn't gone into labor just yet, but they wanted me to get up and move around, walk around, see if that would change anything, see if it'd get the baby to start moving, all this stuff. So they had sent Julian and I around like the hospital to walk for like 15 minutes or something and then like come back and they check me and all that stuff. Walking, like, I don't understand, like I do, but I don't understand why they would do this because I couldn't even walk. Like I literally couldn't walk around because you can't walk when you have contractions. Like, honestly speaking from like my experience, like my birth experience, I couldn't walk. So like I took like 10 steps and then was like, okay, wait. And I had to like hold on to the railing that we walked by or like hang on to the wall or something. Like I needed to basically brace myself when a contraction came and I was walking around. So honestly, I'm gonna tell you those are the longest 15 minutes of my life because like I couldn't walk that long. Like when I could finally go and like sit back down, like I was the happiest person ever. Like I'd rather have contractions in the bed than walking around the hospital at that point. That's just how I felt. After being there for about 4 hours, they sent me home. I wasn't dilating. I hadn't dilated at all. So basically they were like, you're not in labor. We don't want to keep you here and hold up a bed for someone that can come in and be in labor, like actually about to like be giving birth to their baby, which I completely understand that. I wouldn't want to be taking up a bed or like a room for someone who actually needs it if I didn't need it in that point just yet. Julian was kind of hoping we'd stay and they would keep us. I kind of was, but like I said, like at that point, like I'm not gonna sit here and fight. Like I'm really not up for fighting. Like I'm not trying to like argue with anyone. I'm in pain. Like I can't do that. So if you're gonna send me home, like you're gonna send me home. We got back home. I literally was like, I'm exhausted. I've been up since 4 a.m. I took a nap. It was honestly probably around like 1, 2 o'clock at this point. I woke up honestly at like 6 o'clock in worse pain than I was when I went to sleep. So at this point, I have already been feeling contractions for 14 hours, nonstop, same contractions. So Julian had called his mom. She'd worked in a medical field, so he called her to be like, what do I do? One, because he doesn't know anything about birth, but then also he can kind of get her guidance on this whole process. He called her, basically had said that I was in way more pain. I was in a lot more pain. They were actually coming closer together. It was honestly like 6, 7 minutes, maybe even like 5 minutes at some point. Like I said, is like, you're getting closer into being into labor. I called the doctor and was telling her, I was like, I'm still having contractions. They're worse than when I was when I first came down earlier. What's going on? So she was like, all right, come back down. So mind you, the hospital that I went to give birth was about 35 to 40 minutes from my house. Yes, I probably should have had one closer to the house, but where the doctor was that I had, which I loved her, this is where she delivered. When they sent us home, this was another reason why Julian was like, I wish they would just keep us, because we weren't necessarily like super close to this hospital. We got back into the car. I'm calling my mom to tell her we're going back down. At this point, I'm in, like I said, so much more pain. I'm sitting in the back seat of Julian's car, and I'm at the point where we're on the highway and like hitting bumps in the road. I was like, oh my God. At this point, like he's like asking me questions, asking if I'm okay, trying to talk to me. But at this point, talking, like I couldn't even get through talking. Like how I mentioned before about I couldn't walk. Yeah, now I was at the point where like when I was getting a contraction, like I couldn't talk through it. Like I had to wait for it to go and then I can talk. And like I said, these were coming almost 5, 6, 7 minutes apart. So they're coming very fast. So I basically felt like I couldn't talk at all. So we got back down to the hospital around like 6:30, 7 o'clock. They did the same thing. I changed into a gown. They checked everything. They checked me. They were checking contractions. They hooked me up to machines so you could see how the contractions were on the screen. So at this point, like they're looking at it and they're like, wow, like you're really having contractions. And I was like, yes, I have been for 14, 15, going almost probably on like 16 hours now. Thank you for noticing. At this point, they're checking me and they had said that I was 3 to 4 centimeters dilated. To give birth, you have to be 10 centimeters dilated. So I was almost like halfway to the point where I can be pushing out this child. I was laying down in the bed for a while. Like I was just kind of chilling. We weren't like put in a room yet. It was just the room we had gone to that they checked us in. We were just there for a while. That's basically where I stayed until everything started happening. I was laying in bed. At that point, like there's really nothing I can do because like I said, the contractions were so bad that every time like I had one, like I was literally just like gripping the sides of the bed, or like I had to put my hand up like behind me, like gripping the pillow I was laying on. I basically just needed something to like grab because it hurt so bad. I was laying in bed for a little bit and it was probably around like 10 o'clock at this point. I don't know if it was this late, but I honestly wouldn't have been surprised because I feel like I didn't move that fast. Didn't progress that fast through the night after getting there for the second time that day. So I was laying in bed, and I'm not gonna go into like too much detail into this whole thing, but I was just kind of laying there, and to put it like very nicely, like it literally felt like I peed my pants. I'll put it like that. I felt like I peed my pants. There was just wet in the bed where I was laying, and I was kind of like, oh wait, hold on, I think my water just broke, because they didn't like break it for me. They didn't really induce me. They were just kind of letting everything like happen as it was happening. I had said something to Julian and he went to go get a nurse. They came in, and my doctor came in and said, she checked, said I was probably like 6 or 7 centimeters dilated at this point, but she was like, yeah, like your water broke. Like you're actually like, not that I wasn't in labor because I was dilating, but like I was in labor. Like water broke. Once like you hit 10 centimeters, we're good to go. Everything's gonna start happening. Finally, I got to a point where they were like, are you interested in an epidural? Because some people get it, some people don't. It definitely like depends on you. But at this point, I was like, yes, like give me that. I need that right now. Like as soon as I can get it, I need it. I want it. We're gonna get this going. Apparently Julian couldn't be in the room for when they do the epidural, but he had actually gone to he had ordered food on DoorDash and went to go pick it up. So they had kind of caught him before he came back to go set him up somewhere else to eat for a minute so that they can do the epidural for me. So they finally started getting my epidural. Honestly, like they had to wait for my contractions to go. So I was basically sitting there like squeezing a pillow in front of me for them to put this huge needle pretty much in my spine to make me feel better. As weird as that sounds, like a huge needle in your spine to make you feel 10 times better. So I finally got that, and honestly, it took obviously a little bit for it to kick in, but once it did, I started feeling so much better, like so much better. Like you're sitting there like. So then it started working, but there was a point that they said it kind of like works like gravity. Like when you turn your body, like it's all like if I was laying on this side, it would help more on this side. If I was on this side, it would help more over here. So I was at the point where I wasn't fully laying on my back. I was kind of laying like not on my back, but not on my side. So like awkward, like in between. And it was helping like that one side of my body. But on my right side, I was like, I'm still feeling contractions. Like it still kind of hurts over here. Can I do something to help it over here? So they kind of like flipped me over at this point, because at this point they had put one of those like big, it almost looks like a exercise ball. They had put it between my legs to help. I honestly don't even know what it helps, but it felt really good and really nice. And I was kind of with it, so I really didn't question it at that point. But they had to maneuver me, all this stuff on my right side to try to help with the pain on that side. That actually never ended up going away. I actually felt that literally until I gave birth. So that was fun. I don't know why that one little portion didn't want to go away, but it didn't. But anyways, they finally got me on that side. I was kind of just chilling, kind of went back and forth a little bit just so I can kind of be on both sides. That way, like I wasn't just on this side all the time and then this hip was hurting and all this stuff. They kind of flopped me back and forth. And then we started getting into, I don't want to say complications because I really didn't run into complications, but they had given me something in my IV to kind of help baby boy out, because he had gotten to the point where his heartbeat was getting really fast. Like it was a really fast-paced heartbeat for some reason, and they didn't like it. They were like, it's getting way too high. We're not really a fan. We gotta monitor this and try to lower it if we can. And eventually they had came in and told me that he had moved a certain way and his heart rate was reaching 170. It usually sat like 150, honestly between 150, 155. 160 is not terrible, but like 170, they were like, that's not good. We don't like that. We got to stop that. They basically came in and told me that the only way I would be having this child was C-section. At that moment, I was kind of like surprised and I was like, oh, like C-section. Like I didn't have anything against it. I wasn't really like, oh, I don't want to have a C-section or, oh, I can't have a C-section. Like I want to have like a natural birth. I was at the point where, like I said, this one part of contractions wasn't going away, wasn't giving up. It'd probably been like 20, 21 hours now of feeling contractions because of this one part of my side that didn't want to let up. So I was at the point where I was just like, however, we have to get him out like safely, and honestly, like just getting him out, like I'm for it. I'm with it. If he's gonna be okay, if he's gonna be fine, if this is the only way we can do this, like if this is really the only way I can do this, like what am I supposed to say? So we basically had to have, I don't want to say emergency C-section because it was just kind of in the timing of how everything was going for the night, but I basically had to have a surprise C-section. They said it would take about an hour, and I was honestly only in there for like a half hour, so I was kind of surprised at that. I didn't realize it would go so quick. They had prepped me to go into the room at like 1:30. I think I finally got into the room at like 1:50, and I sat there, I was laid out. They put the little sheet in front of you so you can't really see what's going on. I was laying there, they were hooking me up still to IVs, they were hooking up things into my IVs. I know at one point I was kind of like scared because they didn't say anything about putting me under, but I had gotten really sleepy. I mean, at that point I had been up for a while. Like I was up at 6 p.m. when I woke up from my nap, and now it was 2 in the morning, and I had gone through so much with epidural, just contractions, everything else, so I wasn't surprised. But so I had asked if I was going under. They said no. I mentioned that I was getting really tired, and they were like, oh, like you could sleep, like that's not a problem. So that whole thing really wasn't anything to worry about. So I was like, okay, that kind of makes me feel better. Like I'm not just feeling like crazy. So then Julian finally came in the room. They had to set me up before they brought him in. But before they brought him in, I was laying there and I didn't know how numb I would get. So I was kind of starting to scare myself because I was like, I could still feel my legs. I could still move my legs. Like they were like pushing on my stomach, and I was like, I can feel that. And they're like, you're gonna feel like pressure, but that's really about it. But I was like, no, like I could feel my legs still. Like, is that gonna be a problem? Like all this stuff. And they were like, no, like you could feel it. Like it's not really gonna affect anything. And they basically, literally their words were, do you feel a pinch or anything? And I was like, no. And he was like, well, good, because she's already like cut into your stomach. Like she's already basically started the procedure. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, oh, okay. So she had already started the procedure, and then they brought Julian in. So I don't know how much he saw or would have seen, but he sat behind the sheet with me at 2:22 in the morning. Baby boy was born. So it was around like 7 or 8 hours of labor from when we got there at 6 o'clock, and they had finally told me that I was dilated, finally getting into this whole process till 2 o'clock, almost 2:30 in the morning, having him 22 hours of contractions because the epidural didn't fully want to make it all go away, which was really rude if you ask me, but what are you gonna do? That was kind of my experience, what we had gone through. The day was kind of crazy. Like I said, 4 a.m. on the dot, sharp, started. 2 o'clock the following morning, he finally came. I feel like in the moment with everything going on, I would probably say like I wouldn't want to go through it again. But now that everything's good, we're healed, recovered, it's been, like I said, 2 months he's been here, I probably would have, I do want to have more kids. I do want him to have siblings. I don't want to say I want him to have a sister, I want him to have a brother. I'd be perfectly fine with either one. I definitely do want to have more. I told Julian that like my max was probably 3. We'll see how it goes, but I would definitely say I want more in the future. But since we just had this one, we'll wait a little bit. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope it wasn't too boring. I hope it was an interesting story. It definitely was an interesting experience, a little bit of a wild ride, a long day. If you guys enjoyed, please give this video a big thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you aren't already. And hopefully, we have more content coming in the near future. Like I said, trying to balance new mom and this work life is definitely on the harder side. It's not the easiest, and I actually go back to my regular job in the next month, so I have that to balance as well on top of new mom and trying to still do this YouTube stuff. So definitely bear with me, but I'll try to keep you guys updated. If you follow my Twitter, that's in the description below. I'll try to keep you guys updated on there. I know I'm not really on there as much as I should be, but we're gonna try to get into everything. But yeah, hopefully we'll be back soon with brand new videos. Bye guys.
In a place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race, every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way, had to fight and misbehave,